Good afternoon, self-lovers. It's Katie here. I'm going to wait for you guys to join me. I've got a few new members joined the Self-Love Hub, which is awesome. Obviously, a few women quite a few of you actually, who are keen to make 2019 really count. I'm very excited to have you as part of this group. It's a special space, and I would actually like to be in here more this year, sharing even more. And I'm just going to give you guys a minute to arrive. Let's see who joins me. I never know quite what to do with Facebook Lives. Do you kind of hang out waiting or not? Because when you watch the replay, you have to put up with me doing this kind of gabble, don't you? I think I might just get cracking and trust that those that can join live will do. All right. Well, first of all, Happy New Year. I'm really, really glad to be with you. And I have a feeling 2019 is going to be a special one. I think I say that every year. But this year, I really do think it's going to be a special one. And what I know for sure is that when we apply self-love to our lives, everything shifts. Everything. Today I want to talk to you about what self-love is. Those of you in the community who know me and my work probably already know, but I think we can always do with a reminder. But I do want to explain to you specifically what self-love is. But before I dive into kind of what I would call the theory of self-love, on today's call, I want to remind you of your truth. And that truth is that you are pure love. You're pure perfection, pure love. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing damaged. There's nothing to be fixed. And I think when we start a new year, and everybody's talking about intentions and choosing a word to guide their year and all that good stuff, I think it's very easy to kind of focus on what's not working and what needs to change. And I think a new year is a good time to absolutely focus on what change is required. And in fact, if you're subscribed to a month of self-love, then yesterday you would have received my email with some journaling questions. And the first question was, what has to change? Hey, Varsha, I can see you've joined. Good to have you, darling. So, what has to change? And of course, that's a great and powerful question to ask yourself at the turn of a new year. And I feel like one of a few things I want to remind you of today is that as much as I know you desire change, and we all do, I don't think a day will ever come in any of our lives where there isn't a piece about ourselves in our life that we would like to evolve and transform. I think the whole purpose of being human is to continually be on a journey of evolution. And evolution requires transformation, and aka change. But when you decide that something needs to change, it's time for change, it could be very easy to have the focus be on what's not working or what's not right, what's wrong. That something about you and your life isn't good enough. And 100% of the women that I coach, that come on my retreats, they, to some degree, some greater or lesser than others, have this belief system running that they're not good enough. And it's just the human condition. It's part of the human condition. Our ego is always judging and criticizing and telling us that something needs to be fixed or changed. And the truth is, and I really want you to hear this today, the truth is you are beautifully, gorgeously perfect just as you are. Just as you are. The truth of you is your spiritual nature, and your spiritual being is 100% pure love. There is nothing wrong with you. And even if you know that you have behavioral habits that are sabotaging you, if you have thoughts running your life that are self-harming, if you just know the way that you're showing up in relationship isn't healthy, if you're just not making the money you want to be making, or you don't feel like you're on purpose in life, or you can't call in your, loving life partner, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. There's just something going on for you, and predominantly that is a learned pattern of behavior. It's a piece of programming and conditioning that you'd have taken on when you're a kid, when you didn't have a choice, when you didn't know. And we all do it. You're not alone. We all have programming and conditioning and patterns and traits of behavior that are self-sabotaging and that block us to living the abundant and in flow life that we all want to be living. We've all got it. I have it in spades. Why do you think I teach self-love? I teach self-love because I had to learn to love myself. I teach women how to live bigger, better lives that are way more authentic and way more true to them because I had to learn it. I teach women how to engage their feminine energy and be less in their masculine, to find an empowered balance between the two because I had to learn it, right? So yeah, good evening, Varsha. It's lovely to have you. Thank you for commenting, and I'm presuming you can hear me. So you're not alone. And I remember when I first started my self-love journey, I call it the self-love affair, I thought there was something wrong with me. And I felt so damaged. And I thought that there was a load of stuff to be fixed, and it seemed impossible. Impossible. Where I was and where I wanted to be, it was like impossible. And there was a shame attached to that, because shame tells us that we are XYZ, that we are imperfect. I am imperfect. I am damaged. I am poor. I am terrible in relationship. It's not true. We all have the ability, the potential, the power to feel any way we want to feel, to be any way we want to be, and to have the life we want to have. We really do. All that is stopping us is this conditioning. And I like to think of the condition, because I really want you to hear this. I want you to really almost let's do like a visualization here. I want you to imagine that the truth of you is like just this gem. Imagine whatever gem that is for you. Is it a ruby? Is it a sapphire? Is it a diamond? Is it a big lump of gold? The truth of you is this pure, sparkling gem, pure perfection, pure love. From the day you were born, you came out this pure ball of love. And as time went on, there was kind of like, let's call it a little dusting of dirt over the gem, another little dusting of dirt. And then maybe a great big dollop of mud, and another big dollop of mud, and a whole load of shit on top of that. And then, slowly over the years, this beautiful gem, the truth of who you are, has been covered by layers of programming and conditioning. That stuff that is covering the truth of who you are isn't who you are. This stuff isn't who you are. Who you are is this true, beautiful, spiritual being. And so self-love calls you to transform from the space of fear into love every single day. Transformation is moving from fear into love every single day. Self-love, a practice of self-love, a commitment to self-love, is asking you to do that every day. And what that means is, because all the conditioning, it's very low vibrational. If you think of the emotional scale, which is a vibrational scale, at the very bottom is fear and at the very top is love. You kind of go from fear, and then there's down there is like anger, and there's worry and anxiety and discontent and grief and all these uncomfortable, heavy emotions. And as you move up, you're moving up into contentment and happiness and peace and joy and pleasure and love. And all the conditioning and programming that is shrouding and covering your true spiritual essential self is all low vibrational shit. If you're new to me, you'll discover that I do swear a bit. It's kind of how I express myself. And where was I? To move from fear to love, we have to slowly, day by day, commit to removing the layers of conditioning and programming. That's what I call the work. So yesterday I sent out an email, and it was for the month of self-love, and it was a journaling question, what simply has to change in your life? And there were some follow-up questions. I reckon probably 1% of the women who read that email will actually get their journal out and answer those questions. I hope I'm speaking to the 1%. And I'm pretty sure some of you watching haven't. And I get it. And maybe you're going to do it on Friday, or maybe you're going to sit down on Sunday and do it, or maybe you'll do it the week. Like, maybe you've got a plan, or maybe you're never going to. Maybe it's nice to read an email and it makes you feel good, but you're not actually going to do the work. And there's a time and a place for everyone and everything. Like, there would have been a time in my life where I'd have read an email like that and thought, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, it makes sense to answer a question like that. But it wasn't my time, and I didn't do the work. And I remember a time when I tried to start answering questions like that, and it had me feel so overwhelmed that it stopped me in my tracks and I couldn't do it. I remember one occasion, this goes back, this must be like 13 years ago. And I remember having to, I think I'd signed up to some program or something, and I was asked these journaling questions, and I started, and it had me realize that if I honestly start answering these questions, too much in my life is going to have to change. Too much became uncertain, specifically my relationship, some pieces about my career, where I was living. Things were going to have to change, and that was so scary. There was so much uncertainty. And I went back and forward to the question again and again and again until I just scrunched it up and chucked it. I'm not doing it. I couldn't face it. So we're ready when we're ready to face doing the work. So wherever you're at right now, I honor you. I totally honor you. I undoubtedly have been wherever you are at whatever stage of the process you're at. And then the day comes when it's time to do the work. And you know it. It's time to trust that the uncertainty will resolve itself, that you will be shown the way, that healing is possible, that the transformation is available to you. Hi, other people joining. Nice to have you. So, you'll know when that day arrives. I mean, I remember when enough was enough. When stuff had to change, when I just wasn't willing to feel as crappy as I felt, when I wasn't willing to feel so disempowered, so damaged, so out of control of my own life, so emotionally out of control, so mentally exhausted. I remember vividly the day when it all had to change. And that was when I really basically didn't have a choice anymore. I had to do the work. And I committed. And that, I guess, was 10, 11 years ago. And I've never looked back. And I continue to do the work every single day. I'm in coaching all the time. I'm on it. I'm always reading something that will take me to my next level. I have my journal. I am always committed to healing whatever needs to be healed to take me to my next level. And I do it with self-love. I do it from a place of deep, deep compassion and understanding that the truth of me is absolutely beautifully perfect. And anything that has me feel damaged or not good enough, or that's sabotaging me feeling and having what I want in my life, is just a layer of conditioning and programming. And it's not my fault. It's not your fault. We all have this experience. This is the human experience. And day by day, bit by bit, I commit to clearing it, bit by bit. And so if you're at the beginning of your journey, and like I was saying at the beginning for me, when I was like, you know, this is where I was and this is where I wanted to be, and it just seemed so impossible, self-love invites you to move from fear to love, to do the transformational work, to clear the shroud of conditioning, to do it with compassion, to just do it one step at a time, to not have to have it all figured out today, and that actually that's impossible. And part of the whole point of and the journey of transformation is to experience the kind of the trickle effect of the healing, the day by day of it, the slow kind of chipping away of it. And some pieces will happen overnight. Some stuff you'll have an awareness, you'll understand where that pattern of behavior came from, and just the awareness alone will shift it. Could be big stuff too. It'll shift it. Boom, done. And then there's other pieces that will take some time. And you might get to a stage in life and you think you've nailed it and it's healed and you've moved on. And then it will come back. Usually when you're ready to go to another next level, it'll creep back in and need a little bit more healing and a little bit more healing. And there's an element with some of our more self-sabotaging patterns of behavior where it's like an onion. And it's like you're peeling back another layer of onion skin to get to the healing. And today I want to invite you to, it's so cliched and it's a bit of a car bumper sticker. But I really want you to just love yourself enough to be on the journey and not at the destination. When the focus is on the destination, and that destination usually is something like, I have met the love of my life, I am making £1 million a year, I don't know, whatever that, I'm so great at intimate relationships, I have total emotional and mental mastery. Like whatever the destination is, it's a worthy destination. And I know that you'll get there. I have the same level of trust in my own journey. And that piece can seem so big, it's almost repelling. The journey to it will take as long as it's going to take, and it's going to be different for everybody depending on your life experience, depending on who you are. Self-love requires you to be present in the moment to whatever is being presented to you to heal that day. It'll take what it takes. When you take the pressure and expectation off the destination, when you release expectation, take that pressure off, oh my God, it'll happen faster. I promise you. The pressure of being at the destination is a very repelling energy, and it will slow you down. And that energy tells you consistently that where you are right now isn't enough, which kind of has me circle back to what I think I was trying to say at the very beginning of the call. A new year is very much about setting intentions for most of us. And intention setting, often what can kind of come dovetail hand in hand with that is this feeling like where I am right now isn't enough, or what I have right now isn't good enough. And I was in yoga the other day, and our yoga instructor actually reminded us of exactly that. And I was like, yes, I totally agree. And then another instructor actually finished off a class with a beautiful affirmation, and it really, really touched my heart. And she said, she had us repeat it in our minds, and she said, I do enough, I have enough, and I am enough. And that was so beautiful. And self-love invites us to remember exactly that every single day, that we are on our journey of transformation, knowing that our journey of transformation will never end until the day we die. So being on that journey, we may as well make it as compassionate and easy and joyful as we can, right? So remembering, no matter what you are committed to transforming and changing in your life, alongside that commitment is remembering that I do enough, I have enough, and I am enough. That actually the truth of me is pure love, that I'm a spiritual being, and actually my spiritual nature has called me into this human experience specifically to evolve and grow. So the whole point of my being here is to be on a transformational journey. The whole point of me being here is to evolve from fear up into love. If that's the point, if that's what I can expect every single day of my life, then let it be easy. Let it be joyful. Let it be compassionate. Let me be present and here self-lovingly within the journey of life, rather than giving my power away and having my ego judge me constantly every day as damaged because I'm focused on the destination. There's always going to be a destination. You know, I was sharing with some girlfriends yesterday. We had a mastermind and we were setting our intentions for 2019. And I remember that going back 3 years, so hold on, 18, so 2016, I started the year, my focus, my intention was I wanted to meet my man. I finally fully owned it. I wanted to meet my guy. I wanted to meet the love of my life. And 2016 was all about that for me. Is that the right year? Anyway, doesn't matter. By September that year, I met him. I was committed to meeting him, so committed. I invested in every possible way you can imagine. I even hired 2 different coaches to help me on that journey. I was so committed. It was my absolute heart's desire. And while on that journey, I had to remind myself constantly to be on the journey and not so attached to the destination, because the desire to meet the man, although that was pure and the truth of my heart, I had to trust the universe knows my desires. I can release it knowing that my desires are known and I'm here to be on the journey. I'm here to transform whatever needs to be transformed. And I trust that as I heal and transform, he'll come in because I'm removing the blocks and barriers that are keeping him at bay. And so he came in, and it was the most joyful, incredible journey. And I met him. So I reached that destination, and guess what? Next destination presents itself within that relationship. And then we achieve that. And then the next destination presents itself. You know, we got married last year. It was beautiful. And now, you know, the next destination, buy a house, next destination, and so it goes on. There's always a destination. There's always a new destination. We're always on the journey. Self-love is about compassionately being on the journey, not having to have it all this second. And witnessing our journey with curiosity, like almost having that kind of out-of-body second person experience where we're looking down on our life and we're watching ourselves, and we watch with compassion and curiosity, and we witness the journey. Yeah, that's what I want to say about that. There's a comment. Let me just read the comment. Hey, Pippa. You're going to have to listen to the replay. I think you'll like it. Varsha has said, I want some tools, ma'am. So to stop self-sabotage and comparison, I have my mind filled with as if I will learn only by suffering and happiness is only sacrifices. This pattern is killing me. Please suggest some tools so my life is good and abundant. Nothing need to sacrifice. So let me just go back, Varsha. I want a tool to stop self-sabotage and comparison. Okay. Yeah, self-sabotage, comparison. I'm gonna work with comparison on this question. I feel like that's what the self-sabotage of comparison, if I'm understanding you correctly. Comparison is shitty, isn't it? We all do it to greater and lesser degrees. I feel that the cure to comparison is because that's a very disempowering place to be, isn't it? You're always giving your power away to somebody else's life experience. I believe that focusing on gratitude and coming as a daily practice, it feels to me for you that this is a muscle to be built, a daily practice of strengthening your gratitude muscles and focusing on all that you are already, all that you have already, all the ways that you already show up in the world, all the people that already love you and that you love. Does that make sense? Because when we're in comparison, oh my God, it's so exhausting and disempowering and has us really judge ourselves for not being where we think we should be just because somebody else is there. But that's their life, right? I'm not going to, you know that that's why you're asking this question. That's their life. You got to bring the power back. You got to own your truth and love yourself enough to be where you're at. On a spiritual level, I really believe we are all exactly where we're meant to be all the freaking time, even though we are always focused on change and transformation, as I've just been explaining. We are exactly where we're meant to be all of the time. And we all have that beautiful gift of retrospect where you get to a stage in your life. Like, for example, when I met my now husband, I was then able to look back at points in my life when I was really lonely and really my heart was yearning to meet my guy. But I could see with retrospect why it just wasn't the right time, why I wasn't actually ready for him. And interestingly, once I'd met him and knew who he was and understood his story, he wasn't ready or available for me either, right? So even though we desperately want what we want to have, there's always, we can see in retrospect, a reason why we are where we are. And so comparing to somebody else's life experiences and journey, it's an impossibility. And it's major self-harm, as I see, I think you're alluding to. So how would it feel, Varsha, for you to commit to a daily practice of gratitude, of moving away from the very human nature of focusing on everything that you don't have and committing every single day to focusing on what you do have? And I have a feeling, because I've interacted with you a little bit in Facebook a few times, I think that you're on the path and you're already doing an amount of work. So I don't think a practice of gratitude is necessarily brilliantly new to you. But I would suggest, I would kind of bet money on the fact that you're not doing it every day, that you're not 100% all in committed to it, because if you were, you wouldn't be comparing yourself to anybody else. Okay, so I hope that is helpful, and let me know how that feels to you to commit to a daily gratitude practice. It's really key to focus on what we have rather than what we don't have. And interestingly, from an energetic perspective, what you focus on grows. Okay, so with comparison, when you're focused on comparison, the comparison grows and you see more and more and more and more of what you don't have and what they have, and they're living their life and they're doing that and they've got that money and that relationship or that career and that travel and da, 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 da. It grows. So when you pull it back and own your power and focus on all that you have, that grows. So you focus on the love in your life and the love in your life will grow. You focus on the money that is in your life, it will grow. Focus on what feels purposeful already in your life, and your sense of purpose will grow. It's energetic, universal fact. Okay, so my challenge to you, my darling, is to focus on a practice of gratitude. Just write, like, make it simple, right? 5 in the morning, 5 at night. I promise you that once you get started, it will flow and flow and flow, and you'll be writing more and more gratitudes. It might feel a little bit difficult in the beginning, but you're building the muscle. Remember, it's the journey, not the destination. So bit by bit, day by day, write a couple extra gratitudes day by day. Okay, and just allow it to grow. I remember when I wrote about this in my book. I remember a counselor once said to me, hey, I think you'd really appreciate a guided visualization from Louise Hay on gratitude. And I remember I used to listen to it, and I thought the whole thing was completely stupid. I was so cynical. And I was listening to Louise Hay be grateful for the electricity that allowed her to heat her home. And she talked about this long metal tube that would fly through the sky, and it was an airplane. And she would talk about how she had a fridge that had food in it, and and I thought, this is a load of shit at first. I was like, well, that's all obvious. Yeah, planes, they take you where you want to go, and yeah, there's electricity, and yeah, there's food in the fridge. Like, I was super cynical, and I couldn't, in the first instance, embrace this whole idea of gratitude. It just seemed so odd to me until I did. And then I started writing my own, because I persisted with listening to this guided visualization, even though it bugged me to start with. But I was bugged and triggered by it because it was so not familiar to me. I was so addicted to focusing on what wasn't working. I was so addicted to being in my victim. I was so addicted to drama. I was so addicted to everything being wrong and having something to whinge about. Like, that was my experience. It's hard to believe. I don't recognize that woman now. I'm like, who was she? Who was she? She doesn't sound like a lot of fun to be around. But I committed to listening to that guided meditation or visualization. And then I started to write my own gratitudes. And that gratitude list got bigger and longer. And I wrote more often. And I remember I will never forget this day. I remember I was driving in my car, and my heart was bursting with gratitude, and tears were streaming down my face. And it was a really tough time in my life at this point, by the way. A really tough time in my life. And yet I felt so much pure gratitude for being exactly where I was meant to be at that point. At that point, I had no money. I didn't have a career. I had a shit heap of a car. I was a single parent. Like, I was struggling. It was tough. But I was so grateful to be alive. I was so grateful to have that shit heap of a car. I was so grateful for the experiences life was throwing at me. So much gratitude. So it's possible to build the muscle of gratitude, and it requires self-love to do it every day. Just love yourself enough to very gently build that muscle. Be on the journey. Okay. I haven't got any other questions. Varsha, I don't know how that landed for you. I was kind of hoping you would post. I don't know if you're still on the call. But I'd love to know how that lands for you. And if you are willing here and now to type that you are committed to a daily practice of gratitude. Yeah, I'd love to read that before I sign off on the call. Speaking of guided meditations, those of you who have opted in to a month of self-love, I sent you out the self-love guided visualization, which I recorded some time ago. And actually, just before I came on this call, I had a quick listen to a little bit of it, just to hook back into the energy of that visualization. And it is powerful. So I really invite you to listen to that regularly. If you could listen to that every day, it's only 15 minutes long. I promise you it'd be a game changer. I think it actually really summarizes what I've been talking about on this call. And it allows you to drop into a vision of yourself where you see yourself as pure love, which I've been speaking of. And it really connects you to to living life in self-love. It's lovely. So yeah, I really invite you to do that. If you haven't got that meditation for any reason, post a comment. I'll make sure I get it to you. I think that's all I want to share today. I think that's it. It's been lovely to be with you. So many more tips and tools coming your way for the month of self-love. We're only on the 3rd of January. We've got loads to go. Yeah, it's really exciting. And I want to say as well that, you know, if you're starting out on this journey, even if you've been on the journey for a while, please, you don't have to do it alone. It's really slows down the process. If you need support, please reach out. Some of the subjects that I speak about could press some buttons. It could have you feel a little uncertain, a little rocky, and I invite you not to be on your own. I invite you to reach out to me and let me know where you're at, and we can have a conversation. I'm doing free consultations if you want to have a conversation with me to explore how I can support you specifically, how the School of Self-Love can support you specifically. It might be a book. It might be you know, one of the meditation albums. It could be an online home study program. It could be my next retreat. It could be a group program that I'm running. It could be private coaching with me. My private coaching clients are doing incredible things in the world, and they're really committed to this process of transformation, and they're absolutely present in the journey using self-love. And I'm an intuitive coach, and I'm a powerful coach, and I can help you create change very quickly. So if you're up for that, if you have reached that point in your life where you're like, stuff needs to change, enough already, let's do this, and this is your year, let's have a conversation. I am making some exciting little offers and bonuses and so on to the women that want to work with me privately, but that's something that we speak about privately. So let me know and just jump on a call with me. I'll put the link here for you, and yeah, let's go deep. Let's do this. All right. So I'm sending you so much love. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and enjoy the rest of a month of self-love. And I will see you back here live at 1 o'clock next Thursday for another lesson around self-love. Okay. Love you lots. See you later. Bye.